If you haven't been on the animanga side of Twitter this past week or so, you may or may not have seen people hyping up and losing their minds over a brand new manga called Kagurabachi. By the way, all this hype began before the first chapter was even out.
Hey, call the cops.
Now let me explain, because this is a very strange thing happening, because it's not like there's anything known about the series, nor is the author Takeru Hokuzono an established mangaka. So this is their first ever series, and the only thing people had to go off of when the hype began was literally just a colored preview illustration of the main protagonist. So despite chapter 1 now having released at this point, the question still remains: why is there so much hype surrounding Kagurabachi? So clearly this manga is making a splash in the Western online manga sphere for some reason, but what is that reason? At first, the hype seemed to rise up out of nowhere, but as time went on, you would see people hyping up Kagurabachi, calling it the best new-gen manga, claiming the protagonist to be the greatest of all time, surpassing characters such as Naruto and Boruto without even any knowledge about the character at all. Now, the Kagurabachi hype is mostly transformed into like a cesspool of quote-unquote memes, so much so that the author has been liking comments on Twitter referring to Kagurabachi as the greatest new-gen, the next big hit. Some even go as far to say that because of the hype, Kagurabachi is an industry plant made specifically to be a cash cow. I mean, anything's possible. This is Chihiro, by the way, our edgy, hatred-filled, revenge-driven protagonist. This image is literally the only scrap of info we had on Kagurabachi when its popularity blew out of proportion. I mean, yeah, he's cool looking and all, but I honestly think the reason people are giving Kagurabachi as much praise and attention as possible is probably because of people's desire for a new manga in Jump that will actually last. To give some context, a lot of animanga Twitter influencers really seem to only read or know of manga that comes from Weekly Shonen Jump, and I swear they've never read any manga outside of Jump in their lives. So with seeing all of these newbies in Jump being cancelled left and right, since Jump is all they really know, they're desperate for something, anything. Therefore, I suspect it was pretty much just dumb luck that Kagurabachi, of all things, exploded in popularity as much as it has. I mean, who knows, maybe if it came out a bit earlier or later than now, maybe it wouldn't have gained so much hype. With all the anticipation built up, it's time to finally see what Kagurabachi is all about. At long last being 4 days of hype on Twitter, we are finally introduced to our protagonist in Chapter 1 of Kagurabachi. Chihiro Rokihira, as he informs us through narration, seems to be a rather straight-laced and simple guy with a blank expression pretty much all the time, while his father is nearly the complete opposite, a goofy, ditzy guy with a strong passion for forging katana. Chihiro highly respects his father for the work and dedication he puts into making katana as he works every day to further hone his craft, as well as Chihiro himself. However, we find Chihiro is on a mission 3 years later, now donning a scar on his left cheek and accompanied by an old friend of his father's. We aren't told exactly what occurred during those 3 years, but it's alluded that a dreadful fate has befallen Chihiro and his father. On this mission, Chihiro and his partner Shiba infiltrate a Yakuza stronghold funded by some kind of sorcerer. With Shiba having informed Chihiro that these people have a connection to what happened to his father, Chihiro slaughters the entirety of the Yakuza clan, using a katana that his father gave his life to forge. A katana imbued with sorcery. When said sorcery is unleashed from the blade, it appears in the form of the 3 fish he took care of 3 years ago: Enten, Black, and Nishiki. With these magical powers, Chihiro strikes down the entire clan and claims that he will avenge his father's assumed demise. Now, this was a pretty solid first chapter for Kagurabachi. I have a lot of good to say, but I do have my gripes about it. To start with the good, the art and the vibe of this chapter are absolutely spot on. The action was cool, and the way they're setting up the world, characters, and power system are great. It has a lot of potential. However, my main issues lie with the plot, or the lack thereof. You see, the first chapter of Kagurabachi is weird in the way that it's very vague with its plot, almost as if the author doesn't really even know what story they're trying to tell. I feel that Chihiro should have been at least a little more established and characterized, at least when it came to his feelings and his goal, but we're never really outright told what his motivations are. But this is only chapter 1 after all, so it's far too early for me to actually properly judge. It was a decent chapter, and it has enough substance and flair for me to be interested in continue reading it. Now that we've discussed chapter 1, I just wanted to discuss a few of my extra thoughts and predictions when it came to the story and world of Kagurabachi. From what I can gather just from the landscapes and architecture we see of the world, it seems to be a fantasy world of sorts, at least a world separate from ours. The author creates a mix of both Western and Eastern architecture in the few backgrounds we see in the first chapter, and it's honestly very appealing to the eyes. Now when it comes to the sorcery mentioned in this first chapter, it's hard for me to really comment on it yet since we know nothing about how it functions as a power system, like nothing, just that it's sorcery. However, I want to focus on Chihiro's magical katana imbued with sorcery. I'm not sure exactly what each one does, but I believe each of the 3 fish represented in Chihiro's unleashed sorcery will provide some kind of ability unique to itself when applied in combat. Since we still don't know a lot about the way sorcery works in the world, it has a lot of potential to be something cool and or unique from other variations of magic in other media. But with that said and done, Kagurabachi is a very strange manga with an unprecedented amount of hype surrounding it, with only 1 chapter, and its future is very unclear. But let's hope for blue skies and a bright future for Kagurabachi. That's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I know I've been gone a long time, and I can't really give a solid answer as to when I'll post again, but I hope I can at least keep you guys entertained for now. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you when I see you. Peace out.